Yo, good morning. What's going on, everybody? We get no breaks around here. One day ends, another day starts, and we've got more football. You're watching the Stochastic.com NFL Showdown Strategy Show. To close out week one, we got a good one as well. Bills, Jets, in East Rutherford, Aaron Rodgers' debut. Oh, it's going to be a good one, and I'm happy to talk about it. Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on Twitter. Hit your boy up, LOUGHY_D. And while you're there, say hello to Matt Gajewski at Matt_Gajewski, breaking everything down in depth as he always does. You'll find no better analysis for these showdown slates than right here. What's good, brother?
Excited for this game, man. Coming off a really fun week one. A lot of scoring in that afternoon window before we had the blowout on Sunday night. But this might be the best game of the week on paper. Bills, Jets. Jets vastly improved from last year, getting Rodgers in. Should be a huge influx of talent to that offense. And we were talking before the show, they have an elite defense too. Close spread, pretty decent total. This should be awesome for Showdown. So I'm pumped, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I like this a lot. Hey, lineup simulator. I used it for the first time, DraftKings, and ended up working out well for me. Nothing crazy, but a little 2X on the day. Afternoon slate was nice, but nothing crazy. But honestly, I look at that as a win after yesterday. That slate was nuts, man. Like, I can't wait to look at some of the snap shares between some of these backfields. You had injuries. Aaron Jones obviously had a good game, but he got hurt. Could have had an even bigger game. The Chicago Bears just got shit on at home by Jordan Love and the Packers. You know, Justin Fields threw a pick six, lost a fumble, took 4 sacks, or was it 6 sacks? I can't remember at this point, but it was bad. The Steelers were lifeless from the jump. Dominant performance by the Niners. Eagles deserved to lose that game. Joe Burrow threw for 82 yards. They had 6 first downs on the day against the Browns. I could go on and on, Matt. But, you know, one of the things that stood out to me, and I tweeted about this yesterday, Tyreek Hill laid out his plan on how he was going to rack up 2,000 receiving yards and be the first player to do it in the NFL this season. We should take him seriously because that dude, I think he's the best receiver in the league. I really do. I mean, yes, if you want to make the argument for Jefferson, I'm never going to stop you. Jamar Chase, a healthy Cooper Kupp, fine. Tyreek Hill is so dominant. He is so dominant that he can't be stopped no matter what they try and do. And he's not even big. Like, I don't know. What a special player. And Tua Tagovailoa, if he's healthy, that team's offense, that fast-paced, spread-it-out offense is going to be something fierce this year.
Yeah, for sure. I like Tyreek Hill in McDaniel's system too. He uses him on jet motions a ton. There was this one play where Tyreek caught a pretty deep pass where they sent him on a jet motion. And then they snapped the ball where he was literally just in stride. So he basically has a running start. And I don't know how any defensive back in the NFL could possibly stop him when he already has a full head of steam. So McDaniels uses him correctly. You know, if he was in like Mike McCarthy's offense, he would just be ISO'd up on the outside running goes. So it's nice to see him in a system where he can actually flourish and use a lot of that talent. But yeah, he's awesome, man. I love him in that scheme. Whereas, you know, like I saw a funny meme for the Bengals. It was like Jamar Chase way down deep down the field and Burrow behind an offensive lineman. It says Burrow behind anybody, he gets sacked. Jamar Chase doesn't catch the pass. But Joe Burrow behind Penei Sewell throws it deep to anybody. It's a touchdown, which I kind of agree with. And as you can tell, I played a ton of Jamar Chase in that Cleveland game. So it was a horrific day for me. You know, even in Survivor, I played Seattle against the Rams. So now at least I don't have to bother looking at any Survivor for the rest of the year. That's a little benefit there. But yeah, rough day for me.
Dude, I forgot about that one. Yeah, I had rough spots. Like I said, DraftKings ended up being a win. Other places, other bets, some of them just went south quickly. Seattle, what an embarrassing performance that was at home, man. Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell had 119 yards apiece. The Rams rushed the ball 40 times for 92 yards. Wildly inefficient. And they still got a 30-13 win in Seattle, clearly hostile territory. That Seattle team has been hyped to the moon all offseason. You know that, right? Like, and even if you hadn't hyped them, you still would have liked them against the Cooper Cup-less team in the Rams. What an embarrassing performance that was. That was awful.
Yeah, I mean, excluding coaching, because, you know, some coaches can get more out of really bad players. Like last year, Brian Dable did this. He did not do it last night, but the Rams have a bottom 3 roster in the NFL. So to see Pete Carroll get outcoached by Sean McVay, that severely was unbelievable. Like the Rams are right there with like the Cardinals, aside from quarterback, for having one of the worst rosters in football. Like they might be worse than the Texans, the Panthers. This is a horrible team. And they just came right out there and spanked Seattle. Good for them, man. Puka Nacua looked awesome in his debut. He was sick at BYU.
Atwell finally had himself a game.
Say that again?
Atwell finally had himself a game too.
Yeah, I'm not buying Atwell. We'll see how he does.
I got you. I'm just saying that's the first time I can remember him being like, oh, he was usable yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, he's been inactive through most of his career. I view that more as like, what the hell was Seattle doing out there, letting basically like a peewee football player get that many yards? I don't know.
And a couple more spots. It's week one. We have to recap week one after what we saw yesterday. How about the Giants? I mean, look, I understand things can go south in a hurry. It did for the New England Patriots, but then they mounted a comeback thanks to Jake Elliott. The Eagles stayed alive and won that game. But yeah, what was it, 40-0? Dak Prescott didn't need to do anything. Literally didn't need to do anything in that game. It was just defensive mastery. And Daniel Jones, they cannot. I remember us saying this a lot last year because we had 2 primetime games between these teams. If you can't protect Daniel Jones, you're in a division with the Giant or the Cowboys pass rush and the Eagles pass rush. How in the world do you expect to survive?
You're not going to. We saw that last night. I mean, they were double teaming Micah Parsons and he was still getting through it. Like, just go on Twitter and search Micah Parsons. You're going to see all these videos of the Giants literally throwing double teams at him. He splits them. He bull rushes them. It's unbelievable. And yeah, this offensive line is going to be a problem in the future. They essentially have 2 good players, your tackles. They're starting a rookie at center. I mean, the interior has significant issues. And a lot of these young guys needed to take a step forward because they do have a lot of draft capital in this unit. I mean, like, Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas are both first-round picks. John Michael Schmitz is a second-round center out of Michigan. Your guards are a problem, but man, like they got to get more out of their first-round unit. It's not like this is the Texans' offensive line or the Rams' offensive line or something like that.
Austin Moore said, as an Eagles fan, I'm worried about Dallas after last night. No, they should be good, but the Eagles have a great offensive line, too. It's a big difference. You know, Lane Johnson has owned Micah Parsons. Also, Timeout Sports Podcast said you're sleeping on the Commanders pass rush. Sure, but Commanders almost lost to the Cardinals yesterday. Like, Commanders got some other stuff to figure out. That's the last thing we'll touch on here. The fact that the Cardinals had a lead for stretches of that game and Joshua Dobbs managed to put up some production, and against that Arizona defense, the Washington offense struggled. I get it's week 1, Matt. I don't want to read too far into this. Washington played a lot in the preseason, though. Like, their starters played probably more than any other team in the preseason, maybe not named the Carolina Panthers. What do you make of the Commanders after that game?
Their offense is really bad, and they have a bottom 3 quarterback right now. Sam Howell maybe improves a little bit, but I think you'd probably take like 29 other starters over him to this point, and he did not have a good game. So they're immediately going to have limitations because they're limited by quarterback. Their run game didn't get going. It was one of the least efficient run games in the NFL. Their offensive line has problems. Yeah, I like their defense, but how are they going to score on teams? Like that's the main concern for me with Washington.
That's how I view it as well. You should have been able to run through them, but they didn't. Anyway, Timeout Sports said how bottom 3 is a stretch. All right, let's have some fun with this real quick. We'll put Dobbs towards the bottom. Who else? Baker Mayfield. I'd probably still put Baker Mayfield above Sam Howell.
Yeah, I would rather have Sam Howell than Ritter. I think Ritter and Dobbs are the only 2 I would put below Howell.
Okay. And fortunately for Ritter, he literally needs to do nothing.
I know, that's hilarious.
I had asked people yesterday what the most shocking, on Twitter or on X, what the most surprising thing from week 1 was thus far. And a couple of people said Drake London getting a 0. And I was thinking to myself, it's not that surprising. Like a 0, sure. A 0 is surprising in that like you did nothing. But they clearly don't want Ritter to do anything. They don't want him to throw the football.
I don't know why this is surprising. They literally did it for 17 games last year. You had a whole season of this.
Yeah, with Mariota or with Ritter, it didn't matter.
Yeah, Ritter's the same player as Mariota. They're no different.
Yeah. They're going to run a lot. They're going to run a lot for sure. Anything else stand out to you? These recaps are always fun for me, especially after week 1 when we learn a lot of things. Dobbins injury, Deontay Johnson injury, that sucks. Aaron Jones injury, a lot of that stuff is brutal. But anything else stand out to you from the games that we've seen?
I think Aaron Jones is going to be fine. I actually watched LaFleur's press conference after the game. They were talking about how they were just trying to limit him once that happened because he is
okay because they were winning by a lot.
Yeah, so I think Jones is good, thankfully, because they need him, especially.
He's going to have a huge season, dude.
Yeah, and as long as Watson's out too, like they just need dynamic playmakers. But yeah, there's a ton of unexpected stuff, but I was happy to see like the Chargers play really well. I did. Did you see that the field goal that the Chargers ended up giving up at the end of this first half to Miami? The Chargers could have won that game, but they had a pass interference. Miami got an untimed down and then had to kick a field goal.
Yeah, it's the Chargers.
They always find a way, whether it's injury, just moronic behavior. I always come back to the game. They should have just tied to make the playoffs. They lost.
I remember that as well. Dude, is there any team that loses more one-score games than the Chargers? Like, I can't. No. They lose so many one-score games that it will blow your mind. I don't get it. Them and maybe Denver last year, and they picked up right where they left off. They score 16 points, only allow 17, and lose by 1. You know.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing is like Tampa Bay, I think might be better than people think. That defense.
Yeah.
And then if you can just get Baker to play even halfway decent football, like can you just deliver the ball to Mike Evans and Godwin, you're good playmakers, and you'll win games you're not supposed to, like they did this week. Like beating Minnesota. Well, Minnesota has an awful defense, but yeah, I mean, Baker played well enough to get that win. So he should get some credit too.
Hey, how about Lamar too? That was I bet the Ravens -9.5 and really liked that spot. Fortunately, it didn't going up against CJ Stroud, not even his fault, right? But that's all that kind of mattered in that with that offense. But Lamar Jackson, that wasn't exactly a spotless performance from him either. He struggled at times and he was under pressure a decent amount too.
Yeah, man. When your 4 highest owned quarterbacks are Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Deshaun Watson, you can tell how my day went.
Yeah. Fortunately, the only thing that got me out of it was I ate some chalk with that Miami and Chargers game, and I had a decent amount because I had a decent amount of Burrow too, and those lineups were just dead from the jump. Anyway, happy you guys are here. If you haven't done so yet, take a single second, hit that thumbs up. We're into a new week, almost. We're into a new week, but not a new week of football. Atone for your sins here on the NFL Monday Strategy Show, Showdown edition. Great game here. Also, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. And if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to our podcast, Spotify, preferably if you have it, Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating or review. We're doing podcast exclusive content, okay? We're doing a Thursday single entry and three-max show, Tuesday single entry, three-max show, Ben Rossa and myself. You guys loved that, so we'll continue to do more of it. Friday, we're breaking down the afternoon slate, so you can listen to that on Sunday afternoon before it starts if you want. We're keeping them under 30 minutes, and all of our other stuff, including this, will be in podcast form. So if you're not there and you're looking for a new avenue to listen, we got you covered over there on the podcast platform. So let's go. All right. Oh, and Jorge left us a $50 super chat, Matt.
I think he had a big win yesterday.
He definitely did. He said the NFL sims are real. Chat, if you want a good ROI, sign up for the stochastic tools. Look at this, just completely unsolicited. $50 super chat. And you see the benefit of it. Took yesterday 9th in the millie. Oh, he took 9th in the millie?
He had a sick day, man. I saw his screenshot on Twitter.
I think it was like, what, 12,000 or something? 15,000 or whatever. What might have been more.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, congrats, dude. Took 9th in the millie using the contest generator and the Sims tool. That's awesome. And thanks for the super chat, man. Totally unnecessary, but really appreciate you for that. All right, let's go. Let's do it. Buffalo. And I will start this off by saying two things. One, I think both defenses are very live in this game to have decent performances. Like I am buying into this Jets defense significantly. If I end up being wrong and I have, look like an idiot for saying that I think the Jets defense could truly be elite this year starting in week 1, fine. It's right here. You know where to find it. Buffalo should be good enough as well. Fun game. Aaron Rodgers, Jets debut. And then the second thing, Matt, a lot of stuff in this game we kind of know. We don't know exactly what the target share is going to look like, but the breakdown of these wide receiver threes, like Shakir or Deontay Hardy, like, what about that? Or Mecole Hardman and Randall Cobb. That could be one of those spots where if one of those guys scores a touchdown at those dirt cheap price points, you might need them.
100%. And those are the kind of situations I love gambling on, if you will, for showdown slates like this, especially when they're cheap and they are avenues to actually like getting some of the good plays. I don't view this as being like a particularly tight price slate. So I think a lot of this slate is going to come down to Randall Cobb versus Mecole Hardman. I mean, Deontay Hardy, Trent Sherfield, Khalil Shakir. How do these tight ends shake down between like Ruckert and Conklin? But there's a lot of options. So I don't think there's going to be one that's particularly owned. And maybe that does create some leverage for us at some certain points in this slate.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, LeBron James wants to represent Team USA at 2024 Paris Olympics and is spearheading a group of future Hall of Famers, including Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, prepared to commit. That would be crazy, dude. If all of our top dogs played in the 2024 Olympics.
Yeah, there would be.
That would be sick. And then just lose. It'll happen, but I'm all about it. Anyway, let's talk about the Bills here. Got enough people hanging out with us that we can get this going. We had to recap week 1 though. So Josh Allen, we have him in the top single game and showdown, a top plays tool, right? It's like a top stacks tool, but it's for the showdown slate. Matt and I use this religiously for showdowns. Josh Allen, 30% top play probability, 4% leverage, one of the higher leverage scores on the slate. What are we doing with him as the highest priced player on tonight's game?
Yeah, this is your Patrick Mahomes situation. It's not, do we play Josh Allen? It's more a question to me, where do we play him? Because we know he's likely to have one of the best scores on the slate. This is interesting, though. Normally when we have players like Mahomes on the slate, and this is just me using this over multiple years of experience, a lot of times they end up as better plays in the flex, Josh Allen's actually grading out as a slightly better captain play for us right now. And I think that just comes down to options. We have Rodgers, we have Diggs, we have Lazard, we have the running backs. I think it's maybe just that we have a lot of good captain options. So it's not just, okay, Josh Allen's the one guy we want to play. Let's lock him in there. And then maybe there's leverage at the utility spot. I think it's kind of the opposite, where we have a lot of different captains here and we can use Josh Allen because we know he has multiple avenues to getting there. The rushing upside still going to be there. And as a passer, elite options. You've got Diggs, you've got Gabe Davis. They add Kincaid in the first round to complement Dawson Knox. It's probably a better pass catching core than last year too. The only issue is that defense on the other side, but ultimately someone's going to have to score points for Buffalo. So Allen makes a lot of sense to me. Unlike normal situations, I'm probably going to be a little more overweight to him in the captain.
Is it relative? How easy do you think it is to build with? You kind of touched on it. But like, how easy do you think it is to build with Allen in the captain spot today?
I think it's pretty easy. I did quite a bit of building before the show. So what do we say? You've got 4 elite players here, both quarterbacks, Diggs and Garrett Wilson. You can comfortably play 3 with Allen in the captain spot because of the plethora of punt options we have. You just have to be okay with sacrificing one of the other studs.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to some of these punt options for sure, because would you say any of them are good punt options today, or all of them are just viable because it's a single game?
I think viable is the best way to put it.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something, but yeah, no, I'm with you. The back. Well, actually, let's touch on pass catchers here while we just got from Josh Allen. So I had teased that the two of us had just a minute ago, but you're talking about Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. All right, we know that these are the two. This is a 1 and the 2, and that could vary from week to week. Like Gabe Davis could be the one that has the huge game, but generally speaking, Matt, you know this. Even when Gabe Davis had those huge games, it was usually on like 6 and 7 target performances. You know, he had a few really big games, like week 5 against Pittsburgh, that huge tournament winning game. He was 3 receptions on 6 targets. There were a few games like that. Otherwise, he had a couple like 9 and 10 target games, but you do know that he has massive upside. This is a tough matchup against these outside corners, though. I mean, when it comes to Diggs and Gabe Davis, before we get into some of these, secondary options and the tight end spot between Knox and Kincaid, do you have a preference here, or are you just rotating them?
I would rather rotate them. The Gabe Davis price surprised me a little bit here. I mean, I do think Buffalo uses a lot of 12 personnel. We're going to get to that. So I expect them to rotate their secondary receivers a little bit more. And then on the other side, I think New York is a clear 11 personnel team. And I don't think Lazard comes off the field. Lazard is almost $1,000 cheaper than Gabe Davis on DraftKings. So right away, the price for Gabe Davis doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I think he's a little bit overpriced here. With that said, he probably comes in pretty low owned today. And that's not really a function of Gabe Davis, but it's like, I want to play the big 4 guys. And if I throw in Gabe Davis at 7,200, I probably have to take one of them out. So right away, just like from a pure leverage standpoint, you're playing the Millie Maker tonight or something. Gabe Davis probably comes in under owned, but I do think he's overpriced for that projection.
You think Davis is overpriced at $3K less than Diggs, huh?
Yeah, I mean, well, Lazard is cheaper, and then it's just like, okay, would you rather play 3 of the 4 studs, or would you rather play 2 in Gabe Davis?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Especially, yeah, that's a good point, especially against the tough defense too. I mean, I think that definitely speaks to that as well. I don't know, man. I'm looking at these third string guys. I won't say third string, but wide receiver 3, and trying to figure out who it's going to be. Khalil Shakir, second-year player, could be the number 1. Deontay Hardy is there on the depth chart as the wide receiver 3. I have no idea who it's going to be. I mean, is Trent Sherfield going to be active and getting any snaps today? Is there a preference that you have? And I should point out as well, Shakir is $2,400 in the flex on DraftKings. Hardy is $200. Sherfield's $200. So there's a big gap there. If you feel confident on one side or the other, who's going to get the majority of snaps, well, then that's different. But if there's a question mark, Do you just start looking at some Deontay Hardy at minimum salary?
I actually preferred Deontay Hardy.
Okay.
I think this is an area where projections might be wrong. We have Khalil Shakir projected ahead of Hardy, and I think that makes sense just like going back to last year's sample. But if you go back to preseason snaps, Deontay Hardy's playing ahead of Khalil Shakir. You listen to the Buffalo beat like Joe Buscaglia, I believe is his name. I'm probably mispronouncing the last name, so apologies, Joe, but has done an excellent job reporting for this team for years now. He is Deontay Hardy ahead of Khalil Shakir. Khalil Shakir is more expensive, and people still aren't really reacting to this news. And at best, I think this should be a 50-50, not Khalil Shakir ahead of Deontay Hardy. So I think this is a pretty good leverage opportunity, especially with Hardy being cheaper. He allows for a little more roster flexibility. I just straight up rather play Hardy than Shakir, and I believe Hardy should have the higher projection.
And he's literally as cheap as it gets. He is the minimum salary today. What's his ownership coming in at? Nothing, right? Like 6% or 6% in utility.
Yeah, it's extremely low. It's probably going to be a little, actually, maybe not a little higher. I was going to say maybe the roster build funnels people to Hardy, but I mean, they also have Shakir. They have the cheap Jets guys. Because of the options, it probably actually isn't that high.
Hey, what about this tight end position between Knox and Kincaid? Because, Kincaid is likely poised to be the future, number one tight end on this team. I don't think you and I would have any dispute over that, going forward. However, he is second on the depth chart behind Knox. I don't think Knox is just going anywhere, particularly not early on. Kincaid's a rookie tight end. He's $5,000 at utility.
My biggest issue with Hardy and the wide receiver
7%. Not what's that?
Oh, I think you might have froze for a second. I thought you were done, but
I'm sorry. Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
I mean, Knox is getting about 3% more. They're basically the same ownership today, and Knox is cheaper than Kincaid. Do you have a preference here?
Yeah, sorry for interrupting you. I thought
you're good. You're good.
For this position, like my biggest worry with Deontay Hardy is that this team just goes full 12 personnel. And I think they might even do that with just playing Kincaid in the slot, similar to Mike Gesicki, where he's playing a role that's actually a wide receiver. He's just designated as a tight end. He did that a ton at Utah, and he's not really like a big player. He's 6'3", 240. As far as tight ends go, like he's on the smaller end, but he's really athletic and he's played in the slot a ton in his career. So do they just decide to use Knox in line, Kincaid in the slot, which is something they could definitely do? Diggs and Gabe Davis are both perimeter receivers. I think their best configuration for base personnel might simply be to have Kincaid and Knox on the field at the same time. So right away, there's a lot of fragility in these projections between the two tight ends and the wide receiver 3 for this team. And to your point, Knox is really cheap for a guy I personally don't think is going to leave the field a lot, whether Kincaid plays or not. And Knox has been a quality receiving option in the past, particularly in the red zone, where he's been a focal point for this team. I actually like using both these tight ends. I think they're going to be contrarian from a build perspective. In that mid-price range, you're not going to see a lot of people focusing their attention there. It does kind of profile more as a stars and scrubs slate. So I have very heavy interest in these Bills tight ends as pivots off the expensive pass catchers for this team.
Kincaid is such a wild card, dude. He is such a wild card. Like if they do go 12 personnel heavy, and we've seen a lot of teams do that in the past where it can work, particularly on a showdown slate. Now, it has to be prefaced with like Kincaid's not $3,000. He's not dirt cheap either. And then you could talk about Conklin on the other side and same price as these guys. All three of the, we'll say, main tight ends today, Matt, are basically the same price point, with Kincaid being the highest. So I have to assume that he gets lower ownership than all three of them. Maybe not by a lot, but I wouldn't be surprised to see at 5K people just not wanting to click Dalton Kincaid, unless they're like, hey, this is the rookie that they drafted early and he could be really good.
Yeah, I kind of think it's the former, and a lot of it, the uncertainty between him and Knox, but just the way the slate lines up, it's very hard to play these mid-price guys if you want to play 3 studs, which I personally do. But definitely for tournaments, I think you should have your eye on him. I wouldn't be surprised if Kincaid and Knox both play more than Conklin tonight. It would be unlikely, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Really?
Yeah, because the Bills used a ton of 12 in the preseason, but I hesitate to use the word 12 because it's not actually 12. They're not lining up two tight ends in line. Kincaid's playing in the slot. So technically it's 12 personnel because you have two players with the tight end designation on the field, but one of them is just playing receiver.
Do you think like Usama's going to get a lot of opportunity or snaps?
I think it'll be like they drafted Ruckert in the 3rd round. I think he's probably the guy over CJ Uzama.
Okay. This backfield for the Bills. If you guys thought this was just a super easy, clear-cut slate, I got something to tell you. It's not, because in the preseason when those starters played in that one game, James Cook was out there with everything. 2 receptions, 5 attempts. But then guess when Damian Harris came in at the goal line and he vultured a 2-yard touchdown. I don't think that's just preseason nonsense. I mean, it's very possible that Damian Harris could get goal line work, but then in that same sentence, you're talking about Josh Allen, who is no stranger to taking goal line carries himself. James Cook could be good. I have no doubt about that. But Damian Harris isn't necessarily going anywhere, particularly not once they get inside the 10. Do you have a clear preference here based on their salaries and expected workload?
I'm pretty worried about James Cook from just a season-long perspective because of his size. We never see backs this light handle full workloads, and I don't think we're going to here. He's 190 pounds, and he's an excellent pass catcher, so he plays on the meaningful downs, but he's 8K here. Like he's very close to Aaron Rodgers in price. It's hard for me to get to James Cook when I do think there is going to be a split between him and Damian Harris. Maybe it's like 70-30, but that's still significant opportunity going to Harris. And you mentioned the potential role differences where Harris plays on the goal line. They showed that in the preseason, which should be alarming for James Cook backers. This could be a DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams situation pretty quickly in Buffalo. So I like Harris more price adjusted specifically in this game. I have no issues running him out. He also leads to a different build, again, similar to the tight ends where he's 5.4K in the flex. You probably have to sacrifice a stud, but you're going to gain leverage in the process.
For sure. We had where was that? Oh yeah, Rosa Music said, "Whoa, the Cook brothers play each other tonight." They played each other last year too. Remember that? Do you remember that game?
No.
I bet you do, man. Buffalo
Explain it
Bills,
to me. I'll probably remember it when you say it.
Bills Vikings, crazy game, went to overtime.
Oh yeah. Now I do.
Vikings won in overtime. Yeah, that was a wild game. But yeah, tonight they play each other as well. Chris Williams, $10 super chat. Thanks, man. Said all these 5-figure winners in chat. Thanks to your great content. We have atoned. Yeah, we're almost at 100 likes already. Thanks, guys. Hit the like button, people. Show's literally second to none. Takes less than 2 seconds to hit that like button. Thanks. That is true as well. Takes less than 2 seconds to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Maybe we'll get to 100K subs this year too. That would be awesome.
Yeah, man, we need 10K and some change. Hopefully we do.
Tom Spalding said, "Matt, you're one of the best guys at DFS. I'm watching the beginning of this, and your honesty about how your day went yesterday makes me respect your opinion more. Awesome luck tonight, dude."
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, Tom. Nothing but honesty here. There's nothing to hide.
Lou Blair, $5 super chat. Thanks, Lou. If you had a question or a comment, feel free to throw it in. Mike will find that for me. And Chris, thanks for the free memberships to everyone as well. All right. Anything else you want to get to for the backfield here or the Bills before we talk about their defense, kickers, and move on to the Jets?
I think we hit most of it. The only thing I would say about the Bills is just watch who they keep active, inactive, especially with Kincaid being like a pseudo receiver. If like one of those receivers is inactive, that could be late news. I don't think we'll see something weird, but just keep your eye out for whatever the Bills do tonight, inactive wise.
Mike, can you center me, please, on the screen? Thanks. So I'll tell you what, though, this defense and the Jets defense, let's just talk about both of them right now. Why not? And the kickers, because otherwise, you don't need to get all that. I'll probably forget at the end of the show anyway, and we're going to build a lineup. Jets and Bills defense. I know this game has what, a 45.5 point total, 45 point total. 45.5. Would you be shocked if this is a lower scoring game?
No, man. The defenses are really good on both sides. I think the Jets have some offensive line questions. Like They still have been messing around with Mekhi Becton. That one of their tackle spots at least is a question to me. I like Dwayne Brown. He's getting a little old, but the interior is pretty solid. Tackles are a question for me. And Buffalo's a pretty good defense. They invested a ton in their pass rush over the years. They don't really have like that one stud at this point, but Leonard Floyd's been productive. Gregory Rousseau is a high pick. Epinesa is a second round pick. Like Shaq Lawson's there. Ed Oliver's a high pick. Like they could take a step forward on the edge. That could be a mismatch here for the Buffalo. And we already know New York has an elite defense.
For sure. Josh Allen, hey, he struggled against them. These teams play each other twice every year. Last year, 20-12 win Buffalo in week 14. And then in week 9, Buffalo lost that 20-17. I remember that was a big deal because they really shut down Josh Allen. Threw 0 touchdowns to 2 interceptions in that game. He also rushed for 2 touchdowns, but so 1 touchdown, no interceptions in week 14 against them. They kept the passing volume down as well. Teams don't like to throw at high volume against this Jet squad. So wouldn't shock me either, which is why I really have no issues with either of these defenses, Matt. And it's not like Josh Allen's a turnover machine and Aaron Rodgers, historically at home, while Lambeau has never been a turnover guy until last year. This guy never threw picks at home and really, really limited those turnovers. But both defenses are pretty good. I also think both kickers in this game are really interesting. You could see this where you have 2 good offenses, 2 talents at quarterback, and some great skill players. But then going up against good defense, they stall out at the 30, at the 25 multiple times, and each of these kickers are pretty busy all night.
Yeah, I love that take, especially with, my first thought before I even looked at the total in this game is like, oh, this is going to have some points. The total comes in lower than I expected. You dive into the rosters and see how good these defenses are. I think a lot of people might have that initial take similar to what I had, where you're expecting points, Rodgers versus Allen dueling it out, not thinking about the defenses and how they could affect the game. So I like kickers. Generally, they're under-owned too.
Without question. It's going to be a fun one. Let's talk about the Jets here, then we'll build a lineup. Before we do, guys, Jorge mentioned the Sims tool took down, what was it, like 12K yesterday? How much was it, Jorge? I know it was a decent amount, but without question, very happy for you. It was, Amelia, it was 10,600 there. Man, that's fantastic. And then we also had Michael J. He took down on Thursday using the Sims tool, $10,000 with that as well. That was on the Thursday. Oh, no. That was yesterday that he grabbed that $10,000 win. It was Sam Van Dam that tweeted us that took down $3,000, grabbed the Sims tool. He said just an hour before the game, then watched the YouTube video on how to use it and took down 3K in that Chiefs Lions showdown. 15% off for the entirety of the month. We've never discounted the Sims tools for our other sports before. If you look in the description, if you look in the chat, 15% off, whether it's the NFL Sims data package or which gives you all of the same tools as the max package, which is more expensive, but you just can't generate as many lineups or sim as many lineups with the contest generator. That's all the difference is. So if you're playing like single entry stuff, that's perfect for you. Or just smaller field stuff, perfect for you. If you're looking for more of the larger field stuff or bigger single entry 3-max stuff, the max package. But it's not just the Sims, right? We have the contest generator in the Sims. It's our newest tools, cutting edge stuff. No one else is doing it like this. But also, our ownership is included, our player projections, the top stacks tool, the top single game plays tool for Showdown that Matt and I talk about every time we do this show, the premium Discord, everything, all of our tools in this NFL package. That's why we changed up this subscription program model, because we want to, for NFL, want you to not have to be like, all right, well, I got this, now I need this, and now I need this to really be able to build good lineups. You get this package, you have everything, and it's still 15% off. So if you want, be sure to check that out. Or if you want to get a free week of all of that, sign up on Owner's Box. They have super flex contests. Yesterday they had 50K up top, and that overlaid pretty significantly. They filled it like 80%. I'll tell you how I screwed that up in a moment, Matt. But they have all of that. Super flex, $500 first match deposit bonus. And if you sign up using the link in the description or in chat, you're getting a free week of all of our NFL package. So you want to check that out. That's one way to do it. or get 15% off the entirety of the month by going through the link in the description. But Owner's Box Superflex is pretty cool. They also give you $5 Lightning Lineups ticket when you sign up. They also give you a $5 DFS contest when you ticket when you sign up. I had like 6 tickets in my account yesterday morning, and I have more now. So if you're not over there yet, check that out. Use the deposit bonus. Only $10 minimum deposit as well. A lot of different ways to get access to our tools for a discount, and I would definitely recommend it. We had some big winners last night and yesterday and Thursday. Made me very happy to see that. All right, New York Jets. Oh, you want to know what I did? So I deposited 500, Matt, and this is why I said on other sites I didn't have as great a day. Deposit 500. Got my daughter on my lap. No problem. She's watching TV, and I'm just doing this. I upload the CSV as I would anywhere else. And I look at it and I'm like, okay, good, success. That's good. I've done it on DraftKings yesterday. No problem. Everything went through. I don't know what I did. I don't know if when I re-uploaded it, I uploaded like a different file, because I go into my contest and I'm like, all right, I'm not winning. I'm not cashing anything right now. Then Brian Robinson scored. I saw the top lineup and I had $500 a line. I think it was 33 lineups. I just used whatever it was from the deposit bonus. And then I see it go from 0 to 754. I'm like, that's odd. There's no reason that one Brian Robinson touchdown should make me go from winning $0 to 754, right? Like, you're not going to jump that far with one lineup or 5 lineup. I look down and it is a 33 lineup trade. That did not cash.
That sucks,
I'm glad
man.
you find it funny. Because
I've been there. I've been there.
I know, dude. I was because I looked at it and I swear to God, it was like success, right? It's like, I'm good, but no one else had that. So I must have done something, but I don't know what, because I've done the CSV process a million times, and yeah, that sucked. It's nice when you at least min cash with the dummy lineup, but I didn't.
Yeah, man, I narrowly avoided that. I think I got my CSV in with 30 seconds yesterday. I mean, I should have played my dummy. I didn't make any money, so that would have been good.
And hope to min cash on the dummy lineup.
I don't know what was in my dummy, but it would have been the same outcome as my CSV.
I want to think that, because I had so much Joe Burrow exposure on Owner's Box with those 33 lineups that in my head I just kept telling myself, dude, don't worry, you wouldn't have cashed anyway.
That's how I felt.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the Jets. This is such a fun game. Rodgers at home, first game with the Jets. I'm a massive Garrett Wilson truther. I'm a huge two of my favorite young offensive players are on this team. The thing is, though, Breece Hall, while he's expected to play, might not get a lot of work. I think it's possible that he gets very little work in this game. But you and I also thought that Rashee Rice might be inactive on Thursday. So who knows?
I know we never bet against food.
So what are you doing?
That's a college rule that we have. We never bet against Rice. So now we're moving it to the NFL with Rashee Rice. Anyway.
Yeah, well, that's what we're doing. Unfortunately, today we got some weird spots to break down, but this could make it more interesting, and I'm okay with that. First off, Aaron Rodgers, do you like him in this spot at his price point?
Yeah, his price point is cheaper than I thought it was going to come in at. I thought he was going to be the second most expensive player, maybe Diggs ahead of him. But man, what is he? He's 4th. He's behind Garrett Wilson. So it makes a little sense, but it surprised me. You can make Aaron Rodgers lineups and you actually have a decent amount of salary left over. I think there is a difference between Allen captain lineups and Rodgers captain lineups. You do get slightly better ones with Rodgers. And the only problem I have here is the potential leverage. It's coming mostly in the flex spot. And I think that makes a little bit of sense here. There's a lot of really potential. There's a potential for a lot of high scoring captains. Allen does it with his legs. Rodgers needs to do it with his arm. So right away, I think Rodgers captain lineups are live, but honestly, they might be a little bit better with him in the flex, just the way other guys score their points, Allen with the legs. And then so much of Rodgers coming through the air, like Wilson could still outscore him. I mean, Diggs is always live to outscore him. I want to play Rodgers. I think mostly it's just going to come in the flex.
Okay, and that makes sense. Look, Garrett Wilson to me is a spectacular talent. I expect a big season from him. I hope. that he has a big season. I have a ton of exposure in best ball, so that would be beneficial to me. But man, I'll tell you what though, I don't really. This is where you and I might have some hard disagreements, and that's okay. Actually, no, that's not true. I don't think we necessarily will. What I was going to say is I don't see a big difference between Stefon Diggs and Garrett Wilson. Now, we do have Stefon Diggs with a top play percentage, so the top overall score percentage of 20%. We have Garrett Wilson at 12. So we have slight positive leverage around 3% on Diggs, minus 0.7. So nothing significant on Wilson. But I really think there's a distinct possibility that Aaron Rodgers just feeds Garrett Wilson with targets this year. I know, and anyone, yes, he brought over Randall Cobb and Allen Lazard. I get that. But can we stop pretending like both of those guys were 1,000-yard receivers in 2022? I mean, Aaron Rodgers wanted to get Christian Watson the ball, and he just dropped it early on. But later in the season, Christian Watson saw a massive role increase. Man, I just think Garrett Wilson by far is the preeminent talent on this Jets team, and I'm not sure it's close.
Yeah, I actually don't disagree with you at all. The only worry I have is that Lazard is Rodgers' boy, but still, if he's smart, he's going to throw as much as possible to Garrett Wilson. There is a vast talent gap between him and any other pass catcher on this team. It's not close. And with Wilson, it's similar to the discussion with Allen, Diggs, Rodgers. You definitely want to play him. Just a matter of where you play him. It's very hard to play all four unless you punt twice. I think you can do that, but I would just be cognizant of the ownership throughout the day. I think this changes as we go along, but yeah, I mean, like, play Wilson. Just be careful when you do so. Try to be contrarian other places in your lineup, or maybe only play two of the studs.
Wilson's getting about 10% captain ownership. Yeah, 37%, 37.7 utility ownership. Diggs getting about 14%, 15% captain ownership. So yeah, they're basically the same price, right? They're the same price. So that's going to sway a little bit more, a few more people to Stefon Diggs. And I think rightfully so. I have no issues with that at all. Diggs had two very pedestrian games in this matchup last year. Not that that matters that much, but this defense is very good. Like, I think the Jets defense is still better than the Bills defense, but the Bills defense is not bad at all. What are you doing with Lazard and Randall Cobb and Mecole Hardman? That's the question I have.
I'm going to play Lazard. I think he's the clear wide receiver 2. He's also cheaper than the clear wide receiver 2 on the Bills. And I think there's more outs to, like Gabe Davis not performing well because of the 2 tight end stuff, the 3 receiver stuff. So maybe Davis comes off the field a little more than Lazard. Wide receiver 3 is where I think it gets a little interesting for the Jets. I think people are penciling in Cobb as the 3. I kind of think Mecole Hardman's ahead of Cobb. I mean, Cobb was playing like a 40% snap share when healthy in Green Bay with worse receivers than this.
Right.
So that's my concern. You save a little bit of money with Mecole. It's not significant here, but I think you might gain a decent ownership edge. I don't know. I was honestly surprised to see Cobb higher owned and higher projected than Mecole.
Yeah, because, well, it was reports coming out of camp that, like, Cobb was on the field more with the first team than Mecole Hardman was. I know that Rodgers brought him over there, but that goes back to my original point. Like, yeah, Rodgers brought these guys over, but it's not like he brought over. It's not like he was bringing over one of these guys that he didn't bring Devontae Adams over with him, right? Like, he didn't bring over Jordy Nelson with him. Guys that he was just constantly peppering with targets, providing him with top 3 or top 5 wide receiver seasons for years running on end. Like, sure, Lazard's not a bad receiver. Randall Cobb in the twilight of his career is a guy that from time to time Rodgers might lean on. But I don't think that there is a distinct enough difference between Cobb and Mecole Hardman to just be like, hey, you can't touch Hardman today. If you're going that low, you have to go to Randall Cobb.
Yeah, we're in agreement there. It's uncertain, which obviously is going to lead to potential leverage spots if the projections are off or people in the industry are just off a little bit here. I think Mecole might be more talented than Cobb at this point in his career, just straight up from a player's takes, which is how I view it. So I'll definitely take some shots there, but I actually just like having the options in this range. You don't need to make a full stand if you don't want to. You can sprinkle these guys, especially if you're playing like 150 or something. but I will take Mecole Hardman over Cobb straight up right now.
Okay. Yeah, and Cobb's pulling a decent amount of ownership right now. You mentioned that Tyler Conklin, not a guy that you could see being out there maybe a ton, or as you put it, maybe you could see Kincaid and Knox both playing more snaps than he does, being on the field for more than he is. What are you doing with the tight ends then? I mean, it would Conklin, Rucker, CJ Usama. Is there any preference here?
I think Conklin's the favorite for snaps. I just have a question of how many he actually gets. How much do the Jets rotate? Again, they have a lot invested in Rucker, former third-round pick. They bring over Uzama. I don't think he's dynamic by any means, but he's capable. He's reliable. He's going to get snaps. So I think this is probably going to be more of a rotation than people think. And Conklin is coming in 4,800. He's not exactly cheap. I think you can throw some shots at these cheap tight ends here, similar to like Kansas City on Thursday night, where everyone's playing Noah Gray, thinks Noah Gray's the guy, and then boom, Blake Bell plays a little bit more than we think, catches a touchdown.
Yep.
I think that's possible for the Jets here.
I do too. It's a toss-up for sure. I don't think Conklin's the worst play at his ownership. He's like 16% owned. It's still Aaron Rodgers, who you would think has a bit of a resurgence this year with better pass-catching options, just a better overall team. But I'm not enamored with any of these guys. How about this? Among these three tight ends, Kincaid, Knox, and Tyler Conklin, all of whom are priced within $600 of each other, what would your order be as far as priority goes?
Knox, Kincaid, Conklin.
Okay. And what about cheap tight ends? The problem is with Buffalo, there aren't any. It would have to be it would have to be Rucker or Usama. Do you think you'll get to them at like over the field or just sprinkle them in? What are you thinking there?
I think I will sprinkle them. And part of that comes down to like Deontay Hardy's $200 too.
I know. That Deontay Hardy price point is really intriguing, especially given that he's getting very little ownership right now.
100% agree.
6% ownership is crazy. All right. Backfield. We already talked defenses and kickers. I think we've lined that one up nicely enough. Wrap it up with the backfield. Then we can build a lineup here early in the morning. Just a little thought exercise, a little experiment here, see what we can come up with in the morning. I'm running the sim right now to see what that comes up with. What are you doing with this backfield now that we know Breece Hall is expected to play? He's questionable, expected to play. I have no idea what that entails, though. If you told me that Breece Hall ended up being active and didn't see the field, I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Breece Hall gets, 7 carries and plays like 30% of snaps and Dalvin Cook gets the majority of them. I guess what would shock me at this point is that Breece Hall gets the most opportunities on this team, and I think that's unlikely today. So between him, who is not particularly cheap given his expected role, and Dalvin Cook, do you like this backfield today?
I like Dalvin Cook more than Breece Hall. And I think this is like a pure GPP backfield. Pricing has them coming in with negative leverage scores. I think that makes sense. A lot of times when you see two expensive backs that are going to split time, they come in with negative leverage scores. But for large tournaments, I still want to sprinkle them. And Dalvin Cook would be the guy I go to. I'm surprised he's cheaper than Breece. This is a little bit narrative-y, but I mean, like Rodgers takes the massive pay cut. He instantly brings over or advocates for the back he's been facing in the NFC North for years now. Did he even know who Breece Hall was when he came there? Like, Breece Hall was born in 2021. He's like, who the hell's this rookie coming off a season-ending injury who's not practicing yet? I don't want to use Michael Carter. Go get me Dalvin Cook. I'm going to take a pay cut here. So one of my worries is like he just advocated for Dalvin Cook. He trusts Dalvin Cook, veteran in the league, rather than the sophomore back coming off a season-ending injury. Like Dalvin Cook in pass protection, and when the game is close, he's going to be on the field over Breece Hall, in my opinion. So I think Dalvin Cook at this price tag is just a straight-up better play than Breece.
I think he knows who Breece Hall is for one reason. Last year, Breece Hall crushed the Packers in Green Bay. Just dominated them, had a 34-yard touchdown run. I think if he didn't know who he was, he probably did after week 6.
That's true.
I don't know, man. Obviously we don't know what Breece Hall's, how that knee is going to look and I just think Breece Hall is such a supremely talented back. Again, by the way, this is not me saying that you should be paying 8,200 for him today when it certainly seems like he's going to be limited. That price tag seems pretty wild. I guess I'm still disappointed, Matt, that he got injured, took him not longer to rehab, but to the point where they had to bring Dalvin Cook in. I just wanted a pure Breece Hall backfield this year in that offense.
I know it was one of the saddest things that happened this offseason. That and the Ramondre cannibalization by Zeke there's too many running backs. You can't always get like the bell cow workload you want because teams have the luxury of signing guys like Zeke and Dalvin Cook for less than they would have made in previous years.
Zeke got a lot of opportunities yesterday.
He did a lot of nothing with it.
Yeah, he fumbled. So there's that. I'll tell you what, too. I am sick and tired of these players with this brazen mentality thinking they can just change their number up to some weird shit that is not consistent with what we've known at the position, Matt. 12, Darren Waller, Ezekiel Elliott, 15. What are we doing?
I had a really confusing day yesterday watching Red Zone for the first time. So to your point, I had no idea who's scoring touchdowns. I'm like, who the hell is number 12?
Dude, obviously we'll get used to it. But, with running backs, it used to, and like wide receivers, it used to always be really any position, certain defensive players, it was always a number where you go, okay, I have a good idea what position that guy's at. Now, who the hell knows anything anymore?
The chat's on Rashid Shaheed 22.
Yeah, what was that, dude? Every time I saw 22, I was like, who's this running back running go routes?
That is the funniest. It's like he's Sky Moore's like 24, I think, too. He had that last year, and he had that in college actually too. But
yeah, the Rashid Shaheed one really threw me off multiple times because I'd see the 2. I'd be like, who the hell is that? And then you know how you wait for the jersey to turn around so you can see the other side of it?
Yeah.
Like, 22. What is this? Yeah. He had a game too. But
he looked great. But
yeah, I'm team stop changing your number to running back number if you're a wide receiver, or just stop. Let's get back to the consistent. Obviously, I don't give a shit. Like, do what you want with your numbers. But man, week 1 was tough for me trying to figure out who the hell was who early on. I'll tell you. All right. Anything else for the Jets before we build this lineup and get out of here?
I don't think so. I think we hit it all.
All right. Let's build a lineup. By the way, guys, little free money opportunity here. Figure I'd let you know about it. I've talked about it throughout the last week. If you like sports betting, even if you don't, if you like free money, because it's the best kind, Caesars right now, bet 50, get $250 in bonus bets. It is a nice little deal. Now, you must be 21 years or older to gamble. And if you or someone has a gambling problem, be wise to call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But in the event that you don't, you bet 50, you get $250. Now, if you win this $50 bet, it's not that like risk, or first bet insurance. It's not like if you win the bet, you don't get it. Even if you were to bet 50 on a 2-leg parlay and now you've got 150, you're feeling great about yourself, you also get the 250 in bonus bets. Or you lose the 50, no reason to be disappointed. You're getting 250 back regardless in bonus bets. They're paid out in $50 bonus bets. What better way to start off the NFL season to go, you know what? I will bolster my bankroll a little bit, and I'll do it through putting 50 down on a bet that I was already going to place. By the way, Caesars has been giving out a ton of free bets lately. $30 free bets, $25, huge odds boost. They're trying to get a foothold in an industry that right now is dominated by DraftKings and FanDuel. One of the ways to do that is by appealing to the players, prospective players. So this deposit or this first bet, bonus 50 and the 250, a lot of the free bets that they've been doing, a lot of the odds boost that they've been doing, that stuff directly, like they're trying to compete. And why not, right? They're a firmly established operation, but the sports betting online world is a different ballgame. So link in the description and in chat to that if you're trying to get $250 for free. And outside of just the bonus money, always be on multiple books to get the best lines. Shop the best lines. Don't be silly playing on one book and get the wrong odds every single time, bad odds, just because you're, not willing to put a few bucks into another account. Turn your pop-up blocker, your ad blocker off for some reason. When I did this and clicked it, it worked after I turned the ad blocker off. So just turn that off real quick if you plan on taking advantage of this. 50 in the 250. It's in chat and it's in the description. All right, Matt. Josh coming up with MLB strategy show after us. We got a couple minutes, pacing ourselves well. Let's build a lineup and say goodbye. I'll let you kick this off at the captain spot. Where are we going?
Let's do a Garrett Wilson captain. I think a lot of people are going to go Allen, Diggs, and Rodgers.
Love it.
And I still want one of these top 4 guys, but let's try this out.
Love it. Garrett Wilson. I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball here, okay?
All right.
I'm going Jets defense out of the gate. Open things up.
Love it. All right. That gives us a lot of salary. I'm going to do Rodgers, complete our stack.
Yeah, we can go Rodgers. So we got Garrett Wilson, Jets, Rodgers. 7K per player remaining. Let's see what happens with Josh Allen.
All right. So that probably prevents us from Diggs. It's very hard to play 4 of the studs, but we've got 3, and I'm very happy with that. 4,800 is interesting. Kind of gives us a cool range here to work with.
Also, if you just are operating under the assumption that we know Josh Allen can run, but Jets defense could also have a good game, and maybe the big time receivers are locked down a bit. Guys like Hardy and some of those cheap receivers are down there too.
I'm going to use Dawson Knox.
Okay.
4,400. Stay in this mid range.
Okay. Oh, dude, you're going to put me in backup quarterback territory, aren't you, son of a bitch?
No, you're just below that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's such a dead zone. You know what? I was thinking like Kincaid or something just to get super weird. And I think in larger field stuff, that's totally viable. But I actually don't mind the idea of going to Tyler Bass here at 4,200, leaving 1,000 on the table and having a kicker from this game, which I think could be relatively low scoring.
I 100% agree with you. I like Tyler Bass a ton.
Let's do it. Wilson, Jets, Rodgers, Allen, Knox, Bass. All right. Not bad. Single stack with Rodgers. Fine with that. Allen, we've got the Knox stack, Jets defense, and Tyler Bass. That's a good build, and it kind of speaks to what we've been talking about throughout this show anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, if you prefer Kincaid to Knox, you have enough salary to make that move. I don't really have an issue with that if you'd like to do it too.
Yep. One super chat before we go and turn this over to Josh. Jorge Manzo, thanks. Took a bit over a rack, tied for 4th with like 90 people Sunday night showdown. Hey, man, that's great stuff. And thank you. Congrats on the big win. We'll see you guys. One quick thing, very quick, Matt. Obi-Wan asked, any love for Latavius Murray?
I think he's the clear 3rd stringer behind Damian Harris. I'm probably not going to get there myself with so many other cheap options.
Agreed. Appreciate you guys watching, all 600 of you right now. As always, hey, leave a comment down below if you're listening and watching after the fact. We always appreciate that. I know a lot of you guys can't watch when we're live, particularly if you're on the West Coast. We know you're out there, though. Podcast, you can listen to that. This will be uploaded in just a second. Check out all of our podcast exclusive stuff, strategy show extended versions that we're throwing up there. 15% off all of our NFL packages. We never do that. We're doing it to kick off the season. Links in the description and chat. You got the Owner's Box promo if you want the free week, and the Caesars, all of that down there. You guys are the best. Follow Matt at Matt_Gajewski, me at Lafayette_D on the X. And shout out to Mike Lawrence for producing. We'll see you guys back here tonight. NFL Showdown, live before lock at 7:15 right here on the YouTube channel. Peace.